My special guest this evening is Jeff Woolwine, and Jeff's been on the show before, and I always love having him on. And let me get you his bio here. Jeff Woolwine is one of the premier videographers of UFOs in the Phoenix area. For years, it has been theorized that Native Americans saw UFOs and carved images of them in the local mountains in Phoenix. Jeff Woolwine has proved this to be true by matching his video footage of UFOs to the petroglyph carvings. Jeff also makes a connection between these petroglyphs and the Phoenix lights. He believes that many of the UFOs seen over Phoenix are actually other life forms unknown to us, and has found 4 hotspots there for observing them. Jeff also tells the true story of Phoenix and the Mayan tombs and gold that still lie buried under the sacred mountains there. Jeff has been interviewed on many TV and radio talk shows, sharing his extraordinary research. So don't miss this local hero of our UFO community as he presents his UFO footage, taking us deep into the heart of the mystery and wonder of the petroglyphs in the sky. And I love that title. And you can access his YouTube channel. It's called Petroglyphs in the Sky, and he's just awesome. And please welcome Jeff to the show this evening. Hello there.
Hi, how's it going? Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's been a while, and I know you're always busy trekking around and excavating and having fun, so tell everybody what you've been doing.
Well, we've been doing a little bit of sky watching. We caught a few orbs. Sometimes, these orbs, I've been out there so many times. These things have gotten used to me. So it's like whenever these things are in town, they always come around my house and come and see me. So I'm always looking in the sky. I'm always paying attention. And every once in a while, when I come over to the house there and I'll film it and I'll stick it up on my Facebook page, Jeff Woolwine, Petroglyphs in the Sky. And, we've been doing a lot of hiking on South Mountain too before the heat rolls in. It was 95 in these last couple of days. And,
Wow.
It's not too bad once you're up there because, I'm a native here. I was born and raised here, so I'm kind of used to the heat. Mm-hmm. But after a while, it does get to you. And you have to look out for the snakes and everything like that. My partner Jason, my friend Jason and I, we were going up on South Mountain a couple days ago. And, there's a story about this padre. Now, there was 2 padres that came around right after the Hohokam had vanished. And, one padre was good, and he kind of taught the Indians, the Christian way of things, as far as, stopping the sacrifice and worshiping one God and so forth. But another padre came around, and him and his men, and he actually stole from the Indians. And he took the Indians' gold and would not give equal measure for trade for it. And he would stash the gold up on a cave over here on South Mountain. And this went on for a long time until eventually the Apache, they ambushed him and his men, and they took him up on a hill, which is now called Padre Hill. And they dismembered him and his people, and they buried him up on Padre Hill. And no one could find the gold. But according to the myth and legend, his ghost still walks around South Mountain. Matter of fact, if you pay attention, his footsteps will follow you in the tracks when you're up around South Mountain. Mm-hmm. And it said that to the right person, he will reveal where his secret treasure is, where his secret gold is, where the gold can be buried at, or where the gold is at. Mm-hmm. And so there's another part. We have Padre Hill, and then we have Padre Cave. And so my friend Jason and I, we took a long trip up South Mountain. It was a very steep hill. And we went up, and I found the cave about 5, 6, 7 years ago, quite a while ago. And but this time I took Jason up there, and he was just fascinated with it. And we did a lot of videotaping, and there's some petroglyphs on it, and which was really neat. But what I found fascinating, from a distance, looking at the cave, there's 2 glowing eyes that seem to stare back at you when you look into the cave. And it's really fascinating. I got that on video. And for the last couple of days, I put together this video, and I've been trying to get it up on my Facebook wall. But I just now got done with it, so I haven't been able to post it. But it will be posted after the show.
Awesome.
And so everyone can take a look at that, yeah. Now, it's really interesting, too, because about close to a little over about 100 years ago, give or take, excuse me, there was a little old lady. And she used to like pay her rent and buy groceries and things like that with little gold nuggets. And she said that she was pulling these gold nuggets off of South Mountain. And but she would never tell anybody on where she was getting it from. The only person that she would tell was this guy, a friend of hers, and he would actually go up there because she was kind of elderly, and he would go up there and get the gold for her and bring it down to her. And whenever she passed, the guy took his son up to the cave. And you know, I'm sorry, not 100 years ago, about 80 years ago. And he told his son, he was like, you know, you're going to be a rich man someday. This is where the gold is. I'm showing you where the gold is. He's like, I'm not going to take it, but, you know, if you ever need it, here it is. Well, him and the boys, they ended up moving to California, and they lived there for about 75 years. And now the boy has grown up, and he's about 75 years old now. And so he comes back to Phoenix, and he's looking for the gold. And so he goes climbing up on South Mountain, and he can't find it. But what did happen?
You okay there, Jeff? Jeff, you there? Hey, Jeff, are you muted? Jeff? Hang on, everybody. Ah, dropped him. Gosh darn it, that was getting interesting. Let me call him back. Interference. No good. Hi.
Oh, hey, how's it going? We got bumped off there for a minute. I apologize about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay. So what happened was he climbed up on South Mountain, and he's looking for the gold, and he couldn't find it. And they had to pull in search and rescue to get the guy out off the mountain there. And his excuse for going up there was, you know, his dad promised him the gold. You know, he was up there looking for the gold. And matter of fact, I have a newspaper article about this on how they had to pull this guy down from a rescue mission, and his whole excuse was looking for the gold. So, you know, it's really fascinating. Doing my hikes over the years, you know, doing my investigations and my field work and archaeology and stuff, you know, I found so much stuff that the archaeologist does not talk about. You know, I found at least 4 or 5 tombs that are up there, and now these tombs, there's like huge, big stones. I mean, huge boulders, you know, placed, you know, in the entrance to some of these tombs, and it's like, how the heck, you know, did they get these boulders here? You know, but when you look at the rock art, when you look at the petroglyphs, you know, it talks about the giants. You know, it's telling us about the giants that were here, you know, at one time in Phoenix, Arizona. You know, and that's the only conclusion that I can come up with, you know, because even today, in my mind, I don't believe that we could be able to pick up these boulders with our technology today. So it's really something on how they were able to do this.
It almost seems like they would use sound. And I remember the last time you were on the show, you were talking about how the petroglyphs correlate with possible stargates or a dimensional gateway where you can actually connect in and go into another dimension.
Absolutely. You know, there's spirals up there, and one's going clockwise, one going counterclockwise. Some of them are ending down, some of them are ending up. Now, some of them are representing water, and we can tell, you know, that there's a dried up riverbed there or something like that, you know, but some of them are actually doorways for these spirits. Now, going into this, I'm thinking, you know, a craft, I'm thinking solid metal, you know, nuts and bolts, things like this. But watching these things in the sky and analyzing them and seeing them close up from my own eyes, you know, I can tell you this is not technology. In my opinion, this is like another creature. This is another living being. This is another life form. And I can clearly understand why the Native Americans call these things spirits, is because, you know, when they come out of the sky, they're solid. They're solid. And when they're ascending on the mountain or when they're leaving the mountain, they start to turn into like a ghost. You can kind of see through them. And then all of a sudden, they just absorb themselves into a rock. Well, you go out there and you investigate that rock, and what do you find? You find spiral doorways. And the Native American myth says that the cracks in the canyons out here are actually, you know, doorways, you know, to the underworld for these spirit beings. You know, I find it fascinating that SETI and these scientists, you know, are looking for other life forms outside of our solar system but yet fail to realize that the other life form is right here in the backyard the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they're looking in the wrong space.
Right.
You know, they're looking in the wrong places. They should be looking on the mountains here because, you know, where do we mostly see these UFO things, these UFO entities? It's mostly around mountains, fault lines, and volcanoes. You know, they're clearly going after the energy. In 2004, when I was investigating the Phoenix Light, boy, we had an awesome sighting the summer of 2004, and they were hanging right above this power plant, electrical power plant, and it was on the east side of South Mountain. Now, this power plant is bored down into a fault line, and I came across an old map that documented all the Holocom canals out here, and all the Holocom dwellings and things. And sure, there was little cities scattered throughout the land here, but the main city seemed to be right where that power plant sits today. So it's my mind that these UFOs, these entities, these UFO things have been hanging around this area, you know, for a very long time and continue to this day. And it's my opinion that they're using the energy.
I agree with you. Yeah, they feed off the electricity. You said you were over there in 2004 in August is that what you said you were doing? South Mountain?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Yeah, you know, going into this, you know, I heard that I saw like a little news at the beginning of 2004, the beginning summer. One of the news station helicopters, they caught a string of lights out there, and I barely caught it on the news. And I was like, well, you know what? Now is the time to go. Now is the time to go see them. So I knew that they kind of hung out on the east side of South Mountain because I was more or less like on the west side at the time. And because there was another skywatcher out there, and he was making the news, and he was seeing the lights, you know, on a regular basis on the east side. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to hunt these things down. I'm going to find out what they are. I'm going to go after them. So I moved out there in the summer of 2004, and I moved out to Mesa on the east side of Phoenix. And my son and I would just walk outside of the apartment balcony there and just, you know, watch the sky. Well, it didn't take us long, maybe about a few days. And holy cow, boom, boom, there was two big orange amber lights that just seemed to appear in the sky. And then one kind of farther off eastwards, just sitting there. But the other two were moving. And where were they going? They were going west. They were going towards South Mountain. And then they would disappear. And then all of a sudden, two more would pop in. They would head towards the mountain and disappear. And the whole time, the one on the far side was just sitting there, you know, not moving at all. Well, eventually that dimmed out, and I was like, holy cow, you know, we got something. I got it on tape. It was awesome. It was really neat. And my son and I kept going out there. And I think about the third night, they put a train in front of my way, and I wasn't able to see. Yeah, I wasn't able to see the sky. So I just packed up my kid and packed up my camera and hopped on the bikes, and we went as far as we could, you know, so I could get a closer look. And we came across this one school, and it had like this little set of bleachers, you know, about 7 feet off the ground there, and this open patch of sky. I think we waited there for about an hour and a half, and my kid had to go to school, so I couldn't stay there very long. And he was starting to complain. He wanted to go home. So I was starting to pack up and getting ready to leave. And when all of a sudden, bam, I see this string of lights happen right in between the trees there. So I quickly set up my camera real quick, and I started recording. And then all of a sudden, boom, boom, two more lights were formed right there in front of us, right there about, give or take about 6-7 miles away from us. Perfect formation, not moving, no airplanes was around, no smoke, no parachute, but orange amber light. And they kind of looked like serpent eyes. They looked like they were staring right at us. You know, it was a neat sighting. And then all of a sudden, I heard this little airplane coming in. And as soon as the airplane started to get close to them, boom, there goes one. Boom, there goes the other, and they're gone. Airplane kind of sits there and hangs around a little bit because he saw them too, and then he takes off. Well, the next night, I was like, you know, this is something we got to find a better spot to watch. So I took off again during the day to look for a good spot, and I found Mesa Community College. So I climbed up on their bleachers, and they had a huge set of bleachers, for watching the football games and things like that. So I climbed up there, and there you go. I could see the whole city. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to stay here. And it was real close, to South Mountain. I could see South Mountain, very well. And as soon as the sun went down, holy cow, boom, boom, here they come. They were right there in front of us, and I never saw them where I saw them, the first time. They wasn't coming in from the east and going to South Mountain, but they were appearing right in front of us, and then right over the power plant. There was a power plant sitting right there. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like, how they're getting away with this is they don't make any noise. They don't cast any shadows. And the only way that you're able to see them is if you're paying attention, because they're very stealthy. Sometimes they go in really low, to absorb the energy. It's like they don't want to cause a commotion. They just want to come in, get the energy, and get out. Mm-hmm. They don't want a lot of people to see them, to notice them, but they are aware of who's watching them and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
That I am aware of. That. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And after a while, I was like, you know what? These lights knew I was coming. They wanted me to go film them. They showed me the way. I followed these lights to that spot, and the whole summer. Oh my gosh! I got so many sightings that summer, and I ended up doing about 4 news reports. That first month, I'm calling up the news. Hey, there's lights going on out here. Is anybody else seeing this? I was like, I got it on tape. I got it on video. We can talk about this stuff. And about a month or 2 goes by, and then finally, I got my first news interview, and because somebody in Ahwatukee was seeing the lights also. That's like a little town outside of Phoenix here, and so we ended up doing a news report with them, and that first couple news interviews, I remember seeing the airplanes, because there was airplanes hanging around. There is somebody else watching what is going on here. It's interesting too, because first they were watching the lights, and then whenever I started making the news, my son and I, before we leave, it would be just before sunset, and this little white airplane would follow us. He would follow us for 2 miles until we got to Mesa Community College, and he would follow us in the sky. All the way up, he'd sit there and he'd watch us get the cameras ready and everything else, and then he'd climb about a couple thousand feet up in the sky, and it was either one airplane or maybe 2 airplanes, mm-hmm. and they just sit there and they'd circle, and they just wait. And as soon as these lights started coming in, bam, here comes the airplane. And they're not there to investigate them. They're not there to check them out. They're not there for to analyze them or anything there. They're mm-hmm. there to shoo them away. And that's exactly what's going on. Yep. These airplanes come in, they dive bomb these lights, and then soon as, are you there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I heard, okay. I thought we just got disconnected again. Okay, so, these airplanes are going after the lights, and when they come within like a half a mile radius of these lights, boom, one goes away, the other one goes away. Here comes the airplanes. They sit there, they circle that area for about 10 to 15 minutes. The airplanes go back up high, and then about 5-10 minutes later, boom, boom, the lights come back again, and the airplanes go in and chase them after them. It was like a cat and mouse game this whole summer 2004. It was really something to see.
That's wild.
And, I videotaped it. These airplanes, they would come so close to us. They would fly right over the college there, mm-hmm. And just, you could see the pilot, he was looking at me, something fierce, He knew I was watching them.
Did you get their serial number? You couldn't, you probably didn't get the serial number, did you?
No, I didn't see any markings on these airplanes. They're just little white Cessnas. At the time I wasn't really, paying attention, but I can't remember if I saw any markings on them. I do have them on film chasing the lights away, that I do know, but I never caught them when they were getting close when I should have. It's a live and learn type of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, next time I will. So I ended up doing about 4 news stories. And, the end result was everybody was seeing flares in Tucson. Now, Tucson's about 150 miles away. And I'm saying to myself, there's no way that these are flares and they're 150 miles away. These things are in the city. They're huge. There's no airplanes dropping them out. There's no anti-collision lights, because even with flares, you can see because every man-made pilot machine has an anti-collision light on it. It's a blinking light, and that's how you know that it's an airplane. And, when you see those flares being dropped, you always see the blinking light first, and then the flares come out, then the smoke, and the flares are so small, and, they have this trail of smoke with them. But yet these lights that we're filming were big, huge, orange, amber lights, no smoke, no airplanes, no explanation whatsoever. But yet this is what they were trying to say. It came to me, it dawned on me one time, because there was one time that we were out there and the lights were there, and then all of a sudden we saw flares in the background. And I was like, what an awesome cover story. If someone calls up and says, yeah, I saw lights out there, the Air Force can come back and say, yes, we did flares that day on such and such a day on such and such a time. And they wouldn't be lying, because they were, because we had flares in the sky and we had UFOs in the sky all at the same time,
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So
I was going to ask you, did you ever get any type of anybody bothering you at all or threatening you, or any type of monitoring besides that with the planes?
Well, nothing drastic like you hear other people saying, oh, they came into my apartment and they trashed my apartment, they took all my hard drives and blah, blah. None of that crazy stuff, no. But what did happen after, the summer of 2004 was over with, that, I'm studying these things also. I'm doing my research, I'm doing my history on them, and I've been following these things for years. And, they came to the conclusion these things like mountains. So I went on a hunch. What happens if I just move to the mountain on the east side and just, pitch camp there and stake it out for a while? So basically that's what I did. So in January of 2005, I moved closer to the mountain, about 1.5 miles away. And instead of airplanes now that I'm dealing with, I had black helicopters now. And these black helicopters would fly around. And, yeah, some of them would fly right at my apartment window. Sometimes I'd be out waiting for the bus, and this black helicopter would zoom in on me. And I would flash them the bird. I'd let them know what was going on, And, yeah, so, and it's fascinating, too, because, like, that first year, I'm hiking the mountain, I'm going out there, and I'm investigating the petroglyphs, I'm investigating, the spirals and things like that, and I'm coming to find out these are doors. I see a UFO come out of the sky, and it lands on the mountain. The next day I go out there, and I'm expecting to find a crop circle, I'm expecting to see some kind of evidence that this thing landed there, because I saw it, the camera got it on film, I know it was there. And I don't find any crop circles. I don't see any, evidence that there was any supernatural thing there. But I do find petroglyphs with spirals on it. These spiral doorways. And yeah, so within a year, I ended up watching about 7 doors right there on the east side of South Mountain. And I'd watch for them to come. I'd go out there and I'd investigate them. And I'd learn more about them. And then, the black helicopters were watching them too. And sometimes these white airplanes, I think what goes on in just watching and studying what's going on out here, and some of these white airplanes have little domes on the bottom of them, these little black domes. And it's my impression, it's my feeling, it's my take on it, that when the energy starts to build up, I think you're able to see it on some kind of flare device, some kind of, technology where you're able to see the energy starting to gather there. And I think that's what these helicopters and airplanes do, because I've seen them come in and investigate this one area when nothing has happened there yet, but this helicopter will sit there and hover over this one area on the mountain there, for like 15, 20 minutes sometimes. He won't leave. And then as soon as he does leave, about 5-10 minutes later, bam, a UFO comes out of right there, that spot. Yeah.
Very interesting.
And Yeah, so like that first year, I found out when they were going to be here. I figured out the pattern basically, and it is a pattern. Once you find out that pattern, that's the secret.
Right.
That is the secret on seeing these UFOs. And that first year, I monitored them. I tracked them with the sun and the shadow, much like the holocoms did. And then the next year, they repeated themselves. But this time, there was more of them. Same spots, same locations, around the same time, but it was like more of them. It was like a little mini UFO invasion that was going on there at the mountain. I mean, it got so crazy there, And this helicopter, it was really neat too. I got this one on tape. It's on the YouTube channel. It might be on my Facebook page also. But this black helicopter, he comes in, and I went a little further here. One morning, my son and I was up on South Mountain. We're at this canyon, and we're investigating these petroglyphs, and I came back to take a break. Now, these petroglyphs has the power to invoke these spirits, has the power to invoke these entities, these UFOs. And if you simply talk to them, if you acknowledge that they're there, then eventually, they will come see you. And so I put that theory to the test. We're on this huge canyon, lots of petroglyphs, lots of flying serpents, not spaceships, but creatures, flying snakes. I mean, little stick figure men looking up at a flying serpent in the sky. And so I'm like, hey, I think you guys are cool. Why don't you come and see us? Well, about a week later, I'm getting my son ready for school in the morning, and I never left my kitchen window. I was always there. If something was going to get past me sitting by that mountain, it was because I was in the bathroom or I was taking a nap. That's the only time, because I never left my window. I had my camera out the window, and I was ready for anything and everything to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so this helicopter, this black helicopter, he comes around. And I was watching Seven Doors already, and he went to that one door, that one canyon, because I got it on film, and I made the news about a few days after that. Well, actually, about a month later, somebody else filmed the flying serpent. That's what it was. Someone else in the valley here filmed the flying serpent, and the news producers knew that I was filming flying serpents also. So they put us together, and we did a news story. Well, after that news story came out, I was the only one that witnessed, where that thing came out of, what canyon that thing came out of. And, but yet this black helicopter, he went right to that spot. 3 times he went to that spot and hovered there. And then he'd go around and he'd check some more doors, around the mountain, and then he'd go right back to that spot. And then he went and checked some doors. Matter of fact, he really helped me out because he was showing me doors that I had no idea about. So, I was marking on a map, where he was going, this and that. And then, these new ones that he was taking, that, he was showing me, I went out there and investigate. And sure enough, there's petroglyphs, there's spirals, that's it,
That's really...
And it was interesting, too, because when he was done, investigating and checking these doors, he positioned his helicopter straight at my window. I'm on the second floor. I'm overlooking South Mountain. I'm about 1.5 miles away from South Mountain. And he's positioned himself looking straight at my window. And then all of a sudden, he comes right at me and he goes right over the window there. And, and like,
interesting
heck,
how he's sharing information with you to some degree. Did you ever get any unusual dreams when you were connecting in with these UFOs and the petroglyphs?
Nothing like that, I'm not gonna go into it much because it just might not have been anything, but maybe I might have lost some time, there was sometimes I was up there and it just seemed like, a couple hours flew by and it's like, what happened?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense with the vibration and the spin. Yeah, frequency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, things like that, so no abductions, none of that, thing like that, But a lot of people, in my opinion, these Phoenix lights, because everyone, is thinking technology, everyone is thinking nuts and bolts, everyone's thinking man from Mars, things like this. So when you see a light out there or you see 5 lights out there in a formation, you automatically assume that it's a spaceship. It's a craft, right? Mm-hmm. But when you really look at it, it's not. You know, Jason, him and his father saw some lights a couple nights ago. And they were looking at it through a big telescope, and I've already seen them. I've been dealing with these things for a long time. And Jason was like, dude, you know what? I don't think that was a spaceship at all. He's like, these things were solid, and it's like they were like some kind of thing or something, man. It wasn't a spaceship at all. And I'm like, yeah, I know, bro. You know, it's not a spaceship. You know, it's a creature. It's an entity. Do you see 5 lights out there? You're seeing 5 entities in the sky. You know, each living, conscious, you know, fully aware, intelligent, you know, creatures, you know, if you will. There's something. It's hard to really explain what they are. You know, one of my famous sayings is, just as the oceanographers are finding new species of life below the ocean, this is a new species of life above the ocean that the scientists fail to recognize, but they're here. And they've always been here, you know, since the beginning of time. You know, and
they're not hostile. I mean, your experiences with them is not anything that's hostile, would you say?
Well,
aggressive?
Now, I think, you know, the reason why, in my opinion, the government isn't coming out and saying, hey, things are coming and going from South Mountain, hello, is because of what happened last time. I think they've learned from history as much as I have learned from history, deciphering the petroglyphs, learning the petroglyphs, understanding the Holocaust story, understanding, you know, what happened to these people. Now, the archaeologists want us to believe that these Indians, they simply migrated somewhere else because it got too hot, because of drought. Well, if that's the case, where did they go? You know, we have no idea where they went. They just simply vanished, missing, disappeared, gone, you know, without a trace. And this isn't the only place that this has happened at. This has happened all over the world, you know, where these tribes of Indians had just come up missing. But when you talk to the Native Americans here, you know, some of them that will talk to you, because it's really hard to get information from some of them because they're real sketchy on talking about this, you know, but some of them will talk to me, you know, and they told me, hey, you know, our ancestors were taken away by these things. They said that the devil came from the east and took the people away. And when you go up there and you look at the rock art, you can actually see, you know, these creatures, these orbs, these flying serpents, these other looking weird formation-looking things, picking people up by their head and carrying them off into the sky. A type of rapture, if you will.
It sounds like that movie. Go ahead. I saw.
It's really fascinating too.
No, keep going, Jeff. You're awesome. Just keep going. You have a good flow going. I don't want to interrupt that.
Yeah, that's okay. One thing that really hit home, you know, because I studied the Bible a lot, you know, and there's tons of UFOs, there's tons of things like that, you know, and they don't call them UFOs, they call them angels, they call them spirits, they call them, you know, the glory of the Lord, you know, because, you know, with the book of Exodus, you know, Moses, you know, followed this thing in the sky along with the Israelites in the sky out of Egypt. And it says that when that thing stopped in the sky, they would pitch tent. They would camp there. And sometimes that thing in the sky would not move for a whole year. And when that thing would start to move, then they would start to follow it again. You know, so something guided them around that desert. And who was the one that brought them into the promised land? Well, it wasn't Moses. Moses was taken away by a light on a mountain, and it was that thing in the sky that led the people into the promised land. You see? So there's UFOs all over the Bible, and when you start studying that, and then you go up there and you look at the petroglyphs, holy cow, it seems to match, especially with Genesis 6. Because it tells us, look, these things came down out of the sky. The people at that time worshiped these things as gods because they didn't know any better, you know, and it actually led to their downfall. There was sacrifice going on here. I found many altars up here, you know, with blood stains and things like that, much like we do in the Mayans, you know, in Mexico. And the Mayans were here too. You know, that's another thing that really upset me with the archaeologist here. He fails to acknowledge that the Mayans were here when there's tons of petroglyphs depicting the same crosses, the same squiggly lines, and same things that we find in Mexico, we find here in Arizona. But he's not telling us about this, you know.
Right.
And so when you look at the Bible, and and especially in the beginning chapters, and then you go up there and you look at the petroglyphs, it all matches. The Bible talks, and the Bible has a story, and then the rock art shows the photograph. It's crazy on how you can put it all together. Right.
Right.
And
it seems like they're doing it again too. I mean, this parallel keeps repeating itself to some degree. The worshiping of the entities.
That's right. That's right. And this is one of the reasons why they haven't came down, and let us know, that they're here, that, what their purpose is because, if the government came out and said, hey, there's UFOs coming on, there's UFOs out here, it would be headline news for about a couple days. But then it would slowly start to go away because why? Everybody has to go to school. Everybody has to go to work. Everybody has a life. They don't have time for UFOs right now. And this is not what they have in mind at all. What they want is our full attention. They want the sacrifice to happen again. They want us to worship them again as gods. But now it's like the information, people like you and me and other people across the world who understand these things, can put a stop to this and say, hey, I'm not going to worship you. You already know what you are.
Situation awareness. And I was going to ask you really quick here, when you talk about how they feed off electricity, I think that's very interesting. And look how technological we are insofar as everything is interconnected now with electricity. So that tells me like our electrical grid can pretty much be hijacked by these quote unquote entities. What's your take on that?
Oh, absolutely. In the summer of 2004, we have a nuclear Palos Verdes power plant that's a few miles out of town here. And it powers, Arizona, New Mexico, California, and a little bit of Utah, I believe. I mean, it's this major nuclear power plant. And I have seen photographs of lights over that nuclear power plant. Now, in 2004, they had the news let the public know that they're taking the power plant off the grid because they're doing routine maintenance on it or something, and they're turning on all the electrical power plants around the valley. Well, that's really what attracted these things at that time, was the electrical power plants. These things were going to the electrical power plants. Mm-hmm. And in 2004, we had a major grid go down. A major grid went down. We shut down the hospital, shut down some business, shut down some houses and things like that. And they had to pull in a whole new one on a big 24-wheeler that took a month to get here to fix it. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? We've got those lights hanging around the power plant. What if they were the ones that, absorbed all that energy and shut down that grid? Mm-hmm. And maybe this is the reason why they told everybody, they're shutting down the Palo Verde power plant, and turning on the electrical ones, because what if, they draw too much energy and it causes a meltdown core?
Mm-hmm. So right. What about
that's more.
Let me just ask you real quick. In 2004, do you remember what month it was that power plant or the grid went offline?
I can't remember at this time. I really don't know, but I'm sure we can research it. I'm sure we can find it.
Do you know if it was 2004 though? My question is, it seemed like that was a hot year for. Yeah, I had a lot of weird stuff happen to me in 2004. That's why I'm asking you. Okay. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it was the same year I was filming the lights, and that's how I was able to put two and two together. It was like, wait a minute, they brought down the grid, the power plant, nuclear power plant was off. Something was fishy. Same time the lights were over, so something was going on, and it was 2004.
Okay.
Yeah. And it hasn't happened, as far as I know, it hasn't happened ever since.
No, it hasn't. Yeah, this sounds like they've been really, I don't know how to say it, proactive, I guess, in counterattacks or whatever. I'm talking about our government, obviously, in the covert areas, but it seems like something's afoot. Yeah, there's no doubt. So obviously the activity in the area has slowed down even where you are now. Is that right or no?
The UFOs?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
Really? So they're still there. Okay, great. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I'm just not living by the mountain right now. I'm hoping after the summer, during the summer, I plan on moving. I want to get out closer to the mountain, and so after the summer, I'll be out there sky watching again. But these things come and go on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. I can just tell by watching the aircraft, from my apartment all the way miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away from the mountain. I can see those little airplanes. And I know if they see something or not, because if they're high in the sky, that means they're bored. But if they're flying close around the mountain, something's going on.
Right. And these
that's how
aren't
I'm able
drones, are
to.
they? I mean, these are regular, obviously they're pilots in the plane, so it's not like a drone, is it?
Oh, no.
No.
Yeah, these are pilots, and these are Cessnas. And, even when I'm up on the mountain, we see a UFO, and then there's a little white airplane. The airplane and the helicopters know exactly what's going on.
Yep. Seems like.
Absolutely.
Yeah, follow those little planes.
Yeah,
Get their little.
Back to.
Go ahead.
Back to where, the reason why they haven't made contact with us yet is because, in the beginning, they were able to come down, they were able to fool mankind, they were able to worship them, but in the end, they got taken away by these things. The evidence and the proof is just overwhelming on South Mountain. And I think that's basically, what is probably going to happen again. But I think they're waiting for man because, it seems like the more man goes to war with each other, the more we see UFOs. The more mankind fights with each other as far as war and things, they just seem to come around more.
Right.
And I think what could happen is, they're waiting. They're waiting for man to become like there's no food, there's no water, the land's desolate, it's horse and buggy days, we need help, but yet there's a light, and this light will come down, and he'll shapeshift into a person, just like what the Petroglyphs show. The Petroglyphs show these things shapeshifting, and that's what these creatures are. They shapeshift. That's what the Native Americans say. They're shapeshifters, and they do. And so one's going to come down out of the sky. He's going to turn himself into a man. He's going to clean up the earth, and he's going to say, "Look at the miracle I did. Worship me now." And if you don't, then you're dead. You'll get fed to the dog-like demons. But if you do, this will go on for a little while until, basically, the good aliens, if you will, the good angels will come down. On South Mountain there, not only do I find the holocom, I can find holocom petroglyphs, depiction of the holocom. I can find the depiction of the lizard creatures, the lizard men. And I also find another type of race of beings out here, and he has 4 arms, and he has this magical staff weapon. And if you look on my Facebook page there, somewhere on my pictures there, you can actually see there's a panel there, and he's got this weapon in his many arms, and he's shooting up at a serpent, half man, half serpent type of thing. And it's really interesting because the India legends say that the Vietnamese went to war. They had a war here, and they had this special type of weapons, and they were able to conquer the bad aliens. But yet the good aliens, they put their weapons in sacred places around the earth because they know eventually they're going to have to come back one day to reuse these weapons. So I'm thinking, you know what? That's kind of the same story I'm finding out here on South Mountain. So maybe some of these tombs that are out here, consist of these type of weapons, that will probably be used again,
Right. And can you excavate these tombs? I mean, can you get in there, or are they just, there's no way, right?
It's a government state park.
Okay.
And they did that on purpose. It's one of the biggest government parks in the whole United States, South Mountain Park is. And they did that for a reason because, if little old me can find these tombs, then anybody else can. And the archaeologists fail to open up these tombs. Hopefully when my book comes out, it'll pressure, enough people will pressure this archaeologist or pressure somebody, in authority to go out there and at least open up one tomb, at least open one, Let
me ask you
check it out,
And Jeff, are you familiar with the disappearance of 411? It's a book. It's about the National Forest and all these people. Do you see any correlation at all with people? Has anybody disappeared over there? Or is there any correlation at all with vanishing people in that South Mountain?
Not on South Mountain, but, the Superstition Mountains out there, because everyone for centuries, for hundreds of years, people have always been looking for that lost Dutchman's gold mine.
Yeah.
And every time someone comes out and says, "Hey, I got a map. Hey, I'm going to go look for them," they always come up missing. They're always gone. You never hear from them again. As a matter of fact, these three guys, about 3 or 4 years ago, they said they're going after the lost Dutchman's mine. They said they had a map. They were going to go chase it down. Never found them again. They found the cars, but they didn't find them.